How fast could we do a video reviewing sports algorithms for the day if we were talking about three sports? If we were talking about NBA, which is still going on, if we're talking about NHL, which is still going on, or if we were talking about college basketball, which is still going on, we could do it pretty fast. So let's try it. I tried doing this. I actually did a like an 18-minute video, and then my computer exploded because the algorithms were doing too much processing while I was recording. I break computers. I break everything. So let's try to make it quick. Hockey had a 1-2 day, but one of our two underdogs, they won. I said take Washington at plus 115. They lost. I said take Montreal plus 140, and they won. So that was okay. How about tomorrow? There's a bunch of games. We don't have confirmed goalies yet, but it does like things like New Jersey at a reasonable, well, it's not even that reasonable 185. Boston at a very reasonable 154 against a struggling Calgary for sure. Likes Vegas over Buffalo at minus 161. It likes Philadelphia over Columbus. There's our underdog of the day. Is Philadelphia over Columbus. That sounds like fun. Then you start getting into some bad lines. That's hockey. Let's go to NBA. NBA having an interesting day. I moved around Kyrie Irving and I took him out of the sum of the Nets to kind of move the Nets down a little bit. I'm trying to anyway in this algorithm here. Well, actually, no, I didn't. When I broke my computer, it didn't save. So I think they're where they were originally. But the Nets are a little better team because Kyrie Irving is when he's not playing, their health is not affected, basically. So this game is a little weird here. I understand why we lost this and why the Knicks really should have been an underdog. They should have been an underdog and should have lost this game against the Nets. Talking about that, but the Mavericks lose up top somehow. And Cavs and Clippers are at halftime going. The Clippers are winning, but the Cavs are losing. We'll see how that goes. But the Jazz win. Said take the Jazz plus 150. They win because that's what they do. They lose some close ones down here, but two of these games went to overtime, and that's what's supposed to happen when it says the margin of victory is like one. That's what's supposed to happen down here, so I can't complain. And the Hornets moved down on this list after the injury report came out because some of the guys on Portland played. So a lot of sense making being made in the NBA file, even if Dallas loses up top. Hopefully Cleveland wins. We shall see. Tomorrow, 4 games, no lines yet. I'd look for a reasonable line on New Orleans against Portland here. And we'll obviously see what injury reports look like tomorrow, but there isn't too much to tell from NBA tomorrow yet. Let's talk about college basketball. So college basketball, once again, just starts to look like a lot of sense. I noticed that Boise State loses a close one after coming back and trying to win at home, and Louisville loses to Bellarmine. I've never heard of this team school before. Look at how bad these lines were: minus 285 and minus 380. The algorithm had these games all the way down here anyway. How about that? The odds makers didn't. If you sort this and say, how did the odds makers have this game ascending by money line, you start to see the odds makers had these teams up here and they lost. Algorithm smarter than them because it is. And I mean, Boise State ruins an otherwise really, really close to almost perfect day. And then this game is still going on right here. Florida Gulf Coast is losing, but what is the score of this game? Let me double check real quick as we go. But point is Florida Gulf Coast is supposed to give them a game because at a 0% margin, Florida Gulf Coast would win. It's only a 2% margin here for San Diego at home. But of course, we're still stuck using last year's stats, and that makes it kind of difficult. The score of that game right now is 57-65. San Diego is up by 8. So San Diego probably looking like they're going to win this game. And Portland's up by a ton as well, by 20 something points. So Portland's probably going to win this game. So it looks like you're going to hit the top 9, but this is not, even when you lose these, the algorithm moved them down. When you see a team with a bad line way down here, it means do not take them. It means take Marist, and Marist won. That was pick of the day I said to take. They won. Even Davidson had to take this to overtime and won this game against Wright State. Just better teams winning, algorithm, doing its thing and putting stuff in order. Let's talk about tomorrow. So tomorrow, one thing I noticed here was very, very few. There is one underdog. It's an away team though. It's North Alabama against Alabama A&M. However, they do have a better strength of schedule last year. So this is not that bad of a pick. It's a 9% margin with a 5% bump. So that means it's a 14 or 15% margin, really. If it was a neutral site game, North Alabama is on the road, but that's takeable. It's not pick of the day because they're on the road. We don't do picks of the day for road teams. They can never be a pick of the day because teams almost always win when they're at home. So is there a reasonable line for any home team? Right? When we look at just our home teams here, and we could even sort them by line. More sort options. Let's go descending by money line. We'll see the best values will show up at the top. There's no line on the Maryland-Nebraska game yet, but the Citadel game and then Loyola. So Citadel has a 11% margin, which is really a 6% margin if they weren't at home. Their strength of schedule is a little better than Presbyterian and only minus 135. So they're only a 36% power team, so they're not that strong of a team to begin with, but it says they can win this game by 7 points at home. So I don't want to call it really, it's not an awesome pick of the day, but it's the best line of a home team that is already favored to win by the algorithm anyway. So far, tomorrow would be the Citadel. I don't know why they even allow you to say Citadel in this file. It's the Citadel, if I remember correctly. Just like the Ohio State University, like they like to, the is part of the name. So that's a look at college basketball. That was a look at NHL. That was a look at NBA. You can subscribe to the Google Sheet and get access to see all these picks as they get updated during the day. It's $100 for the rest of the month of November, and you have access. It's winning. It's better than nothing. Put it that way. It's better than nothing, and it's also a lot. It gives you a robot's advantage to looking at raw stats unbiased. Just how do we program this thing to make it retroactively predict the most wins? That's what I've been doing for years with all these algorithms. And they resulted in these types of percentages and these types of distributions that were at least as optimal as I could figure out. And that's why they end up doing stuff like beating the living crap out of the odds makers and out of reality. It just is reality. And yeah, I mean, we got Marist up here, and they've got Louisville and Boise State up there, right up here. And that's the difference between optimally putting your money to work at a reasonable line for a better predictive outcome versus wasting your money on a bad line at an outcome that's almost a toss-up. Because look at these games being under 10% margin, even with the 5% bump. What if we take the home bump away completely, right? See how much they move even further down, right? So it's almost why I like to look at it with no home bump sometimes, just to get a raw look, because one team being home or not, while that is a relevant factor, you kind of want to be like, well, what if the teams weren't at home first? Like, what's the raw comparison? Then we're going to add in that special advantage for being home, which whether it is just knowing your surroundings and knowing when you're posting up a shot, what the surroundings look like and how to really aim for the basket without even looking at the basket, whatever it is about being home that clearly gives it an advantage. I don't think it is a nefarious advantage. I don't think it's officials calling more fouls on the other team advantage. I don't think it's any of that. I think it is just the nature of being in your home stadium and when you're shooting, knowing your surroundings and knowing where the basket is. I know this from hockey. When you play at the same rink all the time, you know where the goal is when you're not even looking at it and you're looking at the boards on the corner because you've shot at the goal so many times. There's something natural about that probably makes you shoot better. So I see why home is definitely an advantage. And it clearly is, but it's nice to look at the comparison if teams weren't at home, because it does stuff like this. And if Florida Gulf Coast, they're down by 6 with 4 minutes left, but if they come back and win or at least cover, there's something to be said, although they have a much worse strength of schedule than San Diego. So the 5 bump actually really helps that prediction. And essentially this does look better because San Diego will probably win. And it said they would cover by 5 points. They're up by 6, so we'll see. All right, that's the update for the recap for Wednesday night and the preview for Thursday. Will I do another video for Thursday? Actually, we'll be out on. I actually could probably bring the computer with me. I updated hockey today on the Google Sheet. I updated it from a Wawa gas station parking lot. I just pulled out my laptop, and I was like, people need the proper injury reports for NBA. It's like, you cannot make I wanted to know too. I was like, should I bet on Charlotte? And I ran them, and you can see I can't remember the time I updated, but it was right around 7 p.m. And one of the games had already started. I think the Dallas game had already started anyway. But I know it's really important because it affects projected scores and it changes the orientation of things. It would have moved Charlotte way up here, I think at the second or third spot, and they shouldn't have been there. They should be down here where they are. So I understand the need, and sometimes you're going to be making wagers on bad injury information. So you really got to dig through the injury report and make your own assessment. And we should kind of, I mean, I want to make our own judgment about what we think is going to happen. And I want us to move people into the playing status when they're in game time decision, because I don't want them affecting the scores if we know they're probably going to play. Because Charlotte went from 37, sorry, Portland went from 37 to 74% health. They doubled in health. They got a couple of their guys back. I mean, who were those guys? You can look. I remember they had a ton of guys on the game time decision list. 3 of the guys ended up being out, but the other 2 or 3 must have played. Yeah, it was I can't remember the names, but they clearly played, right? And so that's probably why they did better than before and why they moved around the list. All right. That's the update. Subscribe to the Google Sheet if you want to see access. And there's other ways to purchase the Excel files if you want to update them yourself and follow along and play along at home. All right. That is one more thing I'm going to check real quick. It's 67-70, by the way. Florida Gulf Coast is coming back. I want to look at NBA scores real fast in the third quarter. Oh, all of a sudden, Cleveland's beating Sacramento. How about that? And the Lakers and the Clippers are tied, but Cleveland has come back from down 9, I think, at halftime. And now no, wait a minute. They're not winning. They're down by 4 still at the end of the third quarter. We'll see if they come back. The algorithm says they will. All right. Good luck. Mail your picks be winning. I hope they won.